Professional with a full-time job and dreams of owning your own business? Well, guess what? You can work a full-time job and have a side hustle at the same time. My guest today is Matt Muniz, a partnership development executive and owner of Matt's Amazing Prices. Welcome to the Young Professionals Career Catalyst, Matt. How are you today?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my journey and story.
So glad to have you here. I always like to ask my guests, what did you dream about doing when you were a child? What did you think you wanted to be when you grew up?
This might shock some that know me as a professional, but it was a musician or a music artist, singing, rapping. Yes, 90s,
Okay.
80s, so 90s. Hip hop was very popular, or even like poetry, spoken word. So anything in the literature sense to get my story and ideas out there. I lived in that world a lot as a kid, as an escape from a not so nice environment that I grew up in.
Okay. And you did then get a bachelor's degree in music production. Did you ever work in that career?
I have not in the professional sense, or making money off of it. It was a big dream, and then it became a hobby. And then with the responsibilities in life, the whole starving artist thing, I could not dig up the courage to do things without making money. A lot of things I did was to make sure that I had enough to survive for myself, and then eventually a family, which didn't take too long in life for me to have one.
Yeah. Have to pay those bills, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, and it's a great thing to have a dream like that, but it's also good to be realistic to balance out your dreams, and then low hanging fruit and ways to make money. So
Right, exactly. And you can always, if you have a passion like that, you can always still do it, in your free time. Use it as something that you enjoy doing as a hobby.
yes,
So,
definitely, and that's a lot of where I kept it now. It's
yeah,
just pretty much an outlet, a distraction, and just a way of having fun for now.
right. So you've had several positions in sales and client relations, and you now work for a local public media company. What do you enjoy about your profession?
I am introverted extrovert, so I love talking to people, but I also love talking to people to know what they need. And if
Mhm.
I understand something, I'm quick to teach it or explain it and say, "Hey, this is who you should go to," or what worked best for me. So I call that more of like a problem solving or connecting the dots for my expertise, or services that I can refer to people to make their life easier. So any job that I've had, of course you make money, but then it has some form of purpose, right? So as I'm getting older, and as time is going on, you can analyze what fulfillment does volunteering do for you, what fulfillment does making money do for you. And if you can have some sort of purpose every day that kind of ties you to all of that, that's a better position to be in. And at least for me. So I've identified that I am most happy when I'm connecting with people, and when I'm helping them. And people say things that always help me in that process. So no matter how much, I say or do to help people,
Mhm.
because it's that nature of that type of conversation, someone always is dropping a gem of a resource or something. So it just kind of, it's enveloped into that type of scope. And my job, currently, and even ones before, have always had some sort of human connectivity that puts me in their path to say, "Hey, did you know you can save money here?" Or "Did you know, you can do this easier within, your services," or anything to that effect. So that's been my biggest, I call it an internal GPS.
Mhm.
Which way to go, what to stick with, for 3 to 5 years or even longer. Entrepreneurship has put me in that scope to say, well, when I ran a business, I needed that. And how did I want to be treated when
Mhm.
being approached for any service or
Right. We seem to have frozen here.
more to have a
We're having, you're breaking up on your end.
sorry. Let me see if I could connect.
That's better.
Okay. Sorry.
So I missed the last part of what you said.
I think I pretty much was saying that I know that was a long-winded answer, but it's something that I wanted to give to like lay the foundation, of some of the topics that we'll be talking about, so you can see how I got to where I'm at and then why I operate the way I do.
Right, right. So what traits does someone need in order to be successful in your line of business?
Transparency. When you're working with someone to try to get them to partner with you, it's good to just let them know what you can and can't do. And sometimes the conversation is more on a personal level than it is business,
Right.
because we can't do business yet. It's not that we can't ever. It's just maybe their budget's too low for what we offer, or our approach is not what they need for where they're at in their path. Maybe it's a grand opening. Okay, come to us. We can help you, advertise on TV, internet, and radio. But if you're at a pivotal point where, your budget is, tied up into inventory, well, now it's just all about making sales. You don't need marketing. You just need to get sales going. So, yeah.
Right. Okay. And what do you think is the hardest part of owning your own business? I mean, you've had a side hustle or a business off and on while working part time. What do you think is the hardest part of having that business?
So this is going to be put bluntly, but it gets behind the human psychology behind everything. You need a high level of self-esteem to take on entrepreneurship. You need to believe in yourself like no other. You need to be your own best friend as much as you're your own worst critic.
Right.
If you have those two things, you will get far. Now, not saying that at all times you will always feel that way, but in the times where it gets tough, if you can just realign yourself and look in the mirror and maybe even literally talk to yourself and say, you got this, you've come a long way, keep going, do not lose sight of how you felt when you first envisioned this. It's going to work out with hard work and due diligence. That is the hardest part. The mindset. It's just,
Yes.
it's not easy. It's just, life in general is just not easy. So when you are taking on something you care so much about, it's so easy to get derailed because you care.
Right.
But you have to respect the fact that you care. We get so upset with ourselves for so many things, and we're quick to say, oh, such and such. But what was the last time you sat there and said, you know what? I'm doing a great job. It's not perfect, but I'm 80% good, and the 20% is where I can, it's a work in progress. And I think the biggest thing and the hardest part is learning to care about yourself enough to just take a deep breath and give yourself some credit and keep going. That's the hardest part, psychology and the mindset behind it.
I absolutely agree with that. I know I have my days where I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? We are our own worst critics, no doubt
Yes.
about it.
Yeah. And you constantly feel like you're doing it and not doing it at the same time. And whatever
Right.
that it is, in the scope of what makes you feel productive or successful, it's like, well, I got all of this. And then you look at the numbers, you're like, but we're short on that. It never feels suffice. But do not forget the fact that you thought of this idea, you started it, you do generate revenue. There's ups and downs. And the biggest businesses have downs, right? I play basketball at times, and, my team, sometimes they're happy because I'm making shots. But how do they treat me, and what do they say when I'm not making shots?
Right.
Come on, dude, right? But then in my mind, I come home and it's hard to sleep because I'm like, I let my team down. But then I think to myself, LeBron James misses shots. LeBron James has bad days. So there's no difference between that parallel as you as a small business owner or a young professional, that you're having your growing pain.
Yes. You're frozen again on your side. You're still frozen. Well, we seem to have lost our guest. Let's see if we can get him back in the studio with a better connection. Hopefully he'll be joining back in here. Let's try.
Like, how
There
about,
we go.
okay, I am off of my phone Wi-Fi because my internet is pretty bad. There's some wires that need to be fixed, and they're
Oh,
coming.
okay.
Yeah, they're coming soon.
So yeah, I mean, I love your perspective as far as, you have to give yourself grace and do the best you can every day and stop criticizing yourself and being so hard on yourself. You are making progress. Sometimes it's baby steps. It doesn't need to be big, gigantic steps to instant profitability, but you just have to stick with it. So definitely mindset is essential when you're running your own business.
So I wish someone told me that and coached me into that. I learned it all on myself and
Right,
had that.
right. That was my next question. What do you wish you knew before starting your career? And that's it, right?
Yeah, that's definitely one of them. But also, I wish schools had more teachings about, doing your taxes, sole proprietorship, LLC. And I
Right.
do know there's, a couple things that are coming to the curriculum and so forth. But there is a small misstep, if you ask me, because a lot of people that I know rely on outside resources in order to learn to do those things themselves, which means saving money or from young to older, making those decisions early. Um, so yeah, and sorry, and the question is, what was the one, the biggest pain point for?
Just what you wish you knew before starting your career.
Got it. Yes, that and yeah, there's a whole bunch. The whole bunch. So I'll pretty much run with that one. But yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're a busy guy. You have a family. You are working full time in your career, and you have your business that sometimes you put more emphasis on than others. So how do you balance it all?
Good breaths and silence. Honestly, I follow my heart. I follow my heart.
Mhm.
There's times where, just like anybody else, I get down, right? And there's a point where you have to look at the end of the movie, right? What are you
Right.
going to say at the end of the movie? So I always realign myself, like I suggested, but then I also just think of a far out view of everything, right? Even if it's
Right.
like an aerial view of the earth, right? There's so much stuff going on. But when you take a far aerial view out and when you really look at things, things are more together than not. And legacy, right?
Right.
There's paying people money, there's paying people attention, and then there's also things you can say or do that breathes life into people, right? So I I like money. It's a good tool. It's a good resource to keep going. I like when someone comes back to me years later and they say, I took your advice on such and such, and it changed my life. And I've had
Right.
people do that. It's happened at the lowest point in my life too, where I'm just
Oh,
like, what's my next move? That entrepreneurship, feeling suffice and insuffice at the same time, insignificant, not seen, right? Not heard, not
right.
validated. Look at me, I
Mhm.
have a business, I make money. No one cares.
Right.
It's such it's mind games, right? But the reality is you can pay someone money, or you could pay attention to them, or you can pay it forward. What
Right.
keeps me going and how I'm balancing it all out is that I always check myself. I always check myself on the end point. If I can say years ago, I didn't give up and I did this that led to that with myself or someone else, and they grew to be a better person or made their impact in life. Maybe they started a nonprofit because I showed them how to start, a 501c or something. Making an impact keeps me going. How to balance it out, you just don't think about it.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Isn't that the truth?
If you overly think, you get the analysis paralysis, and you might skip out on volunteer work or something. So
Right, right. And I
yeah,
think there's times when you need to put more focus on your family rather than your business or your employment. You just have to prioritize depending on what's going on in your day-to-day life,
yeah,
the focus may be your family, but tomorrow you might need to focus more on your career. So, um,
yes,
it's
good point.
important to be able to flex like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how, for the long term and the long haul, that's how you'll get there. Because you know when to shift the focus back to rejuvenating an hour or two, do something mindless. So, yes. But I feel like I kind of answer your question. I kind of didn't. And it's because I don't really know how. And, even most people, how do you balance out what you do? Um,
Right, right.
I think that's the answer. Let's leave it
Yeah,
at
I think it's a day by day thing. You just have to determine what is my main priority today and
yeah.
then put your focus there. And then tomorrow it'll be something different. So you
Yes.
just have to be flexible.
Exactly. And most recently, I've actually found time to be a big brother for the Big Brothers
Oh,
program, Big
that's
Brothers Big Sisters.
awesome.
And I'm also on the recruiter committee because there's a wait list of over 350 kids at the time. So when
Oh
you
my
asked
gosh.
that question, I was like, well, what do I do? And I just thought of all of everything I do, and I was like, I don't know how. I just there is no
Yet
nine to five.
another big priority to add into your life, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
so important, so important. I love that program and I've thought about getting involved in that myself.
Which is what I said for 3 years, and then I finally did it, and I'm gonna talk to you after this to see where we can get you involved.
Wonderful.
There we go.
So let's talk about mentorship. Have you had a mentor? Who was it, and how did they help you?
Inadvertently, yes. So I grew up with, a mom, single mom, 4 boys. My dad was in and out of my life off and on.
Mhm.
He, had some troubles. When he was around, it took from us more than it gave.
Okay.
I had an uncle that worked very hard. That's where I get my work ethic from. At
Okay.
7, 8, and 9, probably the furthest I could logically remember. I saw this man working and working and working. I mean, don't get me wrong. Not to paint. I want to paint the right picture. He knew how to work hard, play hard. So weekends were his.
Right.
But he was a manager at Kmart, go
Okay.
figure, just retail brick and mortar, which, in certain senses could be frowned upon. For me, I knew what this man drove, really nice car, and I knew how he dressed. It was head to toe. And at the time for me, very awesome, Michael Jordan clothes, red
Okay.
hat, match with the red socks with the white and red. And I was just like, is that, that's all we have to do is work these hours and we can get that, Uncle Eddie?
Yeah.
He had a wife, same work ethic. They came from New York, probably not the best education, but boy, give them a job and they will take it, make it their own, be responsible, and kick butt. She worked 2 jobs. She worked
Yes.
and still there, Sears, the store Sears, as
Mhm.
a manager, and she also was and is a manager over at Giant, the supermarket.
Wow. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
so 3 jobs total, and, what I'm trying to say is, to answer your question, is that was inadvertently my, person that I looked up to.
Right.
Um, they, uh, they used to take us, they used to bring us school clothes before school,
Oh,
before the school year started. They also took us to Disney, Universal Studio. They loved going down to Maryland and Florida, and that changed my life. There's a world outside of, where I lived, and it was
right.
not the great place or the great timing.
Mhm.
great times. So that, as much as that's not like my mentor per se, that was my
Mhm.
first eye opener of how can you change the quality of your life and put food on the table and live it up and take trips. Now, as far as mentor, my brother, one of my brothers out of the three, he's a year and a half years older.
Mhm.
This guy is a genius. Just like how I've become, you can't teach me anything because I will innovate on what was created and passionately take it to the next level.
Mhm.
So my brother, one of my biggest successes, even though I worked for a bank, I was an account manager for a rental company. I worked as a cook my first 2 years as, from 16 to 18. I worked
Mhm.
two cooking jobs. Now I took on two jobs at a time, watching my aunt do what she did. So back to my brother, he learned how to buy and sell stuff online.
Okay.
He knew how to file for the sole proprietor, and he had some success on eBay. Um, he taught me that. He shouldn't have. No, he should have. I took that and I took it tenfold. Right. I was able to learn everything he taught, but then have my own systems in place that took that to the next level. Yeah. So, mentor wise, I would say I got my worker's permit because of my brother.
Mhm.
I got my driver's license because he took me. I didn't know how to drive stick shift, and he had a stick shift car, and he said, "Here you go," and walked away.
Oh, no.
I, I bolted through every stoplight and stop sign until I figured it out, and then I bought myself my own stick shift car. So when I look back, yes, I can attribute a lot of my mentorship to him, which at that point I probably didn't even know that word.
Right. Oh, sure. Right.
Yep.
Just people that were really good examples for you, and it's awesome that you had family members that were able to, um, be that mentor figure in your life because everybody needs that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay if it's a family member. There's nothing wrong with that. So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, and there's still that competitive edge too. So that's why you heard me kind of like piddle paddling with it a little, because then I taught him a lot of what he knows too. And then, we kind of, but it's all love and it's all part of the process. And
Right.
when I look back at everything, it's made me who I am. And now what I know, whether I'm, doing, sort of, partnership marketing, advertising deals with people or not, it's word of mouth reference. Oh, I know how you can do this. And that's a good space to be in because I had someone like that growing up.
Right. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about networking. Where do you invest your time?
So from October 3rd through about January, I networked a lot at 1 Million Cups,
Okay.
um, Friends of Pete, and then some chamber events and so forth. I had about 40 plus meetings in 12 weeks. So I averaged about 3 to 4. Um, Prior to that, my business was out of state. So there wasn't any networking. I
Mhm.
lived in the Valley for over 30 years. So I know a lot of people who have become business owners. So
Mhm.
that already is my network.
Right.
But sometimes there's certain people who see your profession for what it is, or they don't because they know you. So it's hard for them to have that credibility behind knowing you and saying, "Oh, you sell houses now." Like, this is a person I used to just, kick rocks with in our backyard or something. So it's you get some of the network friends, family, extended family. But as far as meeting new people, I got out there the fourth quarter and then, some part of this year,
Mhm.
local in the Lehigh Valley at Friends of Pete and 1 Million Cups type of events.
Yeah, we're very lucky here and where we live in the Lehigh Valley that we have so many networking opportunities. Definitely a big blessing for anyone's professional development. You have to have those people that connections and conversations matter,
Yeah,
definitely, no matter where you are in your career. It could be you're still a college student, you're a high school student, but you have to learn how to talk to people and have those relationships with people because they remember you and you
yeah,
can help them just as much as they can help you.
that's
Definitely.
true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So, what's one piece of career advice you would give to today's young professional or recent college graduate, Matt?
This one I already thought about. right? And this one's big on me. It's big in my heart. Understand that whatever you decide to do might not be forever. And
Mhm.
that will take the pressure off of making the decision to do something. What I see could have been a better um, situation for me, or let's say how I could have got ahead faster in making my decision to do all of what I did, is if I wasn't in the mindset that I have to pick that one career and that's going to be
Right.
my forever. Because then
Mhm.
I analyzed and I literally was paralyzed in my decision. So I did
Yes.
the odd jobs, right? I did this, and it kind of devalues what we're told our whole life. Dream big, right? The world is yours. Go for it.
Mhm.
Go for it. You're worth it. You deserve it. So I didn't really adhere to that. And that's it's not unfortunate, but I probably would have 5 more years of career building um, ahead of me, which means I would be 5 more years ahead. And
Mhm.
everything happens for a reason in its own timing. So maybe it wouldn't have been what I'm thinking, but what I would encourage young professionals who are deciding to do anything, do it now, do it quick, and just know that you will grow into the next best thing. When I look at how I ran my business, it was every job cultivated into one that I've ever done. Making a checklist, even working for a bank, ROI, percentages. I can divide numbers into numbers like no other. And I can do it the opposite way and say, wow, this equals that.
Right.
So, if I was frowning upon taking a customer service call working at the bank and, oh, I got to help them with their check card and this, that, like you don't fret about the different things you're doing because it's always a forward progress. You don't know what you're
Yes.
learning that's going to get you to your next thing. And I do have a parallel that I can draw to that because I'm an abstract thinker and I like to put it into a more, sensible idea. The movie Karate Kid,
Okay.
wax on, wax off. What are we doing here? Keep going. Wax on, wax off. What was he learning? Defense. You
Right.
never know what you're doing that seems so tedious that is going to open up your world to success in some form or shape. You're
Exactly.
probably learning how to sell right now, right?
Yep.
You probably will be the top 5% of your company, in the future. So, but it's not what you're comfortable with, but it's what you're good at.
Yeah.
So just understand, I would just love to say that the biggest thing is decide on what you would like to do now because that's in your heart and your mind. Do that and then get to where, might get to what might be your bigger deal.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with starting with something that's not exactly your biggest idea.
Right. And that's the whole purpose for this podcast. I want today's, college students, recent college grads, young professionals to understand you will make different moves in your career. You may start out thinking, okay, I want to be in music production, but every single experience you get is developing skills, and those are transferable skills. And it's okay to not know 100% what you want to do, but like you said, you can get trapped in analysis paralysis, and sometimes you just have to do it. Do something, develop your skills, accept the experience, and then it's okay to move on. And you can learn different skills through volunteering. And, there's all kinds of different ways to develop your skills and figure out what you want to do. And it's okay to have part time jobs to figure that out, to volunteer, what have you. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Matt. You really helped explain the whole purpose of the Career Catalyst podcast today.
That's awesome.
So
You're
how
welcome.
and where can listeners find you, Matt?
In the sense of the business that I'm doing now or like social media?
If they wanted to reach out to you in any way.
Got it. So you could reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm not on Facebook a lot. I get tagged there a lot with family members. But I feel like LinkedIn has a good tight knit, uh, let's see, say like networking, but also the voices out there are productive in the sense of tips for, how to conduct yourself or how to learn how to, do sales and stuff. So
Right.
to answer your question, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm not, far out of reach. I'll take a phone call to help anyone at any point,
Okay.
even chatting. I have taught e-commerce. I also have taught some cryptocurrency classes as well, how to buy, how to sell. I even know how to create your own token. So I'm a wealth of knowledge, and I love helping people. So definitely be encouraged to reach out to me.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today, Matt. And to my
You're welcome.
listeners, my audience, tune in next Tuesday, March 5th, for the next episode of the Young Professionals Career Catalyst.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.